Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Essence Connection for April the 21st. And it's been a minute or two, but there's been a lot going on. Spring is sprung, as my mother would say, and things are, well, it's interesting. Things are bubbling, but also there's always little challenges. There's always little tree roots that one stumbles over and such. So, are we off? We're gonna just hang out here for a little bit. We're gonna just sit, right? Okay. And breathe. We're just gonna breathe. Yes, sweetheart. Okay. So, just to do a bit of a check-in. I had my great work class last night and we were talking about the solar plexus chakra and how when we're not centered in self with all the chakras, if it's the energy isn't, I'm sorry, am I crowding you? Talk about, well, that's appropriate to the topic, isn't it? So if our energy is not flowing in healthy, strong ways, and it becomes blocked in some way, either unhealthy movement tends to go to a polarization of either too much or too little. And so from a chakra perspective in the solar plexus, if there's not enough energy moving through, what you gonna do? Gonna go over that way? You're gonna go over that way? We need to make a decision. That way it is. All right. So, too little energy, which goes along the road towards the more depressive, the empty glove, right? There's that commercial that George loves to quote is, I have nothing left to give. That from a solar plexus perspective becomes a lack of power, a lack of potency, it's a sense of feeling victimized in the world that life is acting upon and not in ways that are supportive or friendly. If you go the other way along the spectrum to like so much energy, and that would be more on the anxious. I'm not equating depression with victimization, but it's just there's a lack of energy or there's so much energy, and that goes over onto that more anxious kinetic force. And that's the bully energy. That's putting power out into the world, foisting power upon. And so power under, victim, power over, bully are both informed by an external gaze, an external experience. It's not empowered, which is the energy flows within. So we were talking about that, and of course that has to do with how we do disagreement. I didn't want to use the word conflict or even confrontation, but when two energies come together and they're coming from different perspectives, from a place of difference, how we are centered in ourselves has so much impact on how we respond to that. In the Noble Art, I chart everything from control, which is really looking at a root chakra perspective of trying to deal with difference, is that I obliterate your perspective and I just try to do everything I can to control you. And that moves through to conflict, which to me is a sacral chakra response. It's very emotional, it's very charged, and that's what we're afraid of. I'm not so sure that we're afraid of confrontation, which tends to be more solar plexus. It's like, just, well, that definition up front with. It's like, no, this is where I'm coming from. And confrontation tends to come like this. It might be like kind of hitting chests together, but not in the fray. But then there's coercion, which I see as being connected with the heart chakra. It's like, I'm going to kind of manipulate your heartfelt emotions to try to get you on side. So all of those are, I would say, codependent patterns of dealing with difference. But then we move into other ways of actually being able to see the other. And I may not agree with your perspective, but, of course I respect your right to have a perspective. But there's, of collaboration and, compromise and collaboration and co-creation, like how we start to work together. So anyways, all of this is just, being aware of how we're starting to look at how we feel within ourselves is the first step, and that informs how we meet other, because we are quickly moving towards cycle 4, and that is the dance with other. So really important for us to be really quite sure with how we are in ourselves. I'm probably shouting over the music. I just realized it's loud to me, so it's probably very, very loud to you. Let me just turn it down a little bit. And who did we choose? Can you see that? We have Hawthorne. You see here how protective she is. The figure that's enwrapped in, well, actually, you know what? I'm seeing that as being protective. But it also looks like a portal. So it says here protection, healing, and gateways. And we know Hawthorne is protective because she's got her thorns, and they're quite long. I always think of them as, functional needles, but to imagine that as we breathe into the center of self, in this place of essence, of holding the energy of Hawthorne, breathe into that sense of Hawthorne within, and that you have these thorns. They're not defensive. Well, I mean, they do provide defense, but they're not. No, it's the other. They're not offensive. They're not attacking. They're just there to ensure holding space. And I think that also can be important for us within. I don't have to convince so hard. All I have to do is provide my perspective. I don't have to convince you. I don't have to, I've talked about this before, like kind of going over to your side and trying to drag you onto this side. This is just what I think. So these thorns sort of allow for that space and that distance. And certainly Hawthorne is, I believe she's a heart healer. That the medicinal properties of Hawthorne can help to heal the heart. And that's physical, but it also can be emotional. And that also can possibly be part of her power of being a gateway between the worlds as well. And I think that's what this is when I was looking at it as being a protection, but it's that portal. And there are perspectives that I see in this realm, but there are also other perspectives, other realms, other realities that are there to support and provide wisdom. The Hawthorn protects us in this realm and invites us to another realm and brings perhaps gentle healing to the heart. So let's hold her energy today. Just feel how that balm brings a centered sense of self. So breathing Hawthorn. We've just come through her time too. She is the first of the second acme in the Om. So if Beth goes this way, then Hawthorn goes. Sorry, just one. It doesn't go across. So the beginning of summer. So breathe into that. Her opening us up to a whole different way of blossoming. And I send you with blessings for today. I'm going to share a little bit of what's been happening outside. I'm sure you're so tired of pheasants and cows, but I'm going to put it out there. You don't have to watch it if you don't want to, but it does bring me joy. So blessings to you today, and we will see you tomorrow.